All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Getting Started with Brightspace today. By my clock, it looks like it's 11 a.m., so we are going to get started as we wait for some other people to just kind of trickle on in. So thanks for joining us today. My name is Valerie Howe, and I'm a customer success specialist with D2L. Before I became a D2Ler, I taught for 5 years. 3 of those years, I was teaching high school English across the pond in England. And then my last 2 years, I was teaching grade 4 in very, very northern Alberta. So I'm really excited to be here with you today to show you how to get started with Brightspace. I've also added my Twitter handle on this page at ValerieMHowe89, and feel free to give me a follow if you want. I like to post updates and tips and tricks, and as we continue to develop this webinar series, I will also be posting and advertising about that as well. So before we get started, I do want to cover a few housekeeping items. First is that I will be using the term district to represent all of the bodies that you work under. So again, depending on where you come from, you might use the term a school board or division, but just because we do have people all over North America who are joining us today, we're going to stick with a district. Second, you might have noticed that all commenting and Q&A has been disabled, and it will be disabled for the whole webinar series. The reason for that, it's not that we don't want to answer your questions, it's not that at all. We just have a short time together, and because every district kind of sets up and does their version of Brightspace a little bit differently, we don't have time to answer all your kind of district specific questions about Brightspace, but we do encourage you to reach out to your Brightspace administrator, or we've also put our email up there, k12ont@d12.com. Feel free to email there as well. I know a lot of people wonder how they'll be able to watch the recording and access the resources that we'll be talking about in this slide deck. So we will be posting all the webinar recordings and slide decks on the education webinar site that you registered at for this webinar. And I've also hyperlinked it in this slide as well for you. And feel free to share that out with folks who weren't able to attend today. And lastly, if your district isn't currently using Brightspace, you're more than welcome to join us today, but the webinars are more so meant to show you how to use the tool, not how to acquire access to it. So if you don't have Brightspace at your district and you're interested in learning how you can get that, feel free to email us at k12ont@d12.com. Okay, so for our agenda today, we are going to talk a little bit about current state, and then I do want to talk about what Brightspace is. We do sometimes get questions about that. And then we will start looking at those kind of basics of getting started. So this will be a very introductory session. If you have logged into Brightspace before and you know how to find your courses, this might be a little too beginner for you, but again, feel free to stick around. Maybe you'll pick up something new or a tip or a trick along the way. Okay. So first, I just want to address why I think we're likely all here today and why you are likely finding some sort of online platform to connect with your students. And that's the impact of COVID-19 that we know is kind of throwing us into this rapid change of our traditional kind of teaching structure. And I just want to note that we are here to help, and your health and safety is the first priority. And something that I want to note as well, again, I mentioned I come from a teaching background, and this is a massive change. It's a big learning curve for a lot of folks to take what we know as a face-to-face classroom environment and trying to move that online. So I just want to take a minute to say your mental health in this is also important. So again, this might be a really steep learning curve for some of you. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself some grace as you adapt to this new environment. I know everyone's trying their best, and it has their students top of mind, and that's all we can really ask for in this time. So take care of yourself, and we're all in this together. So online learning can definitely be really valuable, but there are some things that we need to take into consideration. And as D12 works with K-12 clients around the globe, so we just wanted to share with you some considerations that we've been hearing from our K-12 districts around the world as they've been transitioning to online learning. So first is content and resources. So whether you have experience teaching online or this is completely new, uncharted waters for you, that's totally okay. But it is important to try and think about one place where you can pull together and share resources and content for your students, just to kind of keep things consistent in what's a very inconsistent time right now. And again, whatever platform you choose that to be, it's just important that you're able to reliably post things there for your learners and their parents and guardians. So I'm really proud to say that if you choose Brightspace to be that place for you, that can certainly accomplish that mission for you. Next is something I know is definitely top of mind for many folks, and that's devices and internet access. So again, while I think we all agree that online learning can be valuable, we educators know that we need to consider some of our students who might not have internet and devices. And for those learners who might be using older devices or computers at home, we do want to make sure that we're not over focusing on apps that might rely on having new devices or new operating systems for those apps to work. So Brightspace, for example, uses responsive web design, and there is the ability to access content offline through our Brightspace Pulse app. And that's really important because it means learners can access materials anywhere, regardless if they're using an old device. They just need the ability to access a web browser and some Wi-Fi. And again, if you joined any of our webinars a couple weeks ago, we were chatting about how we've seen some really great things with communities pulling together in this time of need, and districts organizing, tech pickup and getting resources out to students in the community, communities organizing donations, Wi-Fi hotspots, which it's really wonderful to see people coming together to help out the children in the community. Next is support at home. I'm sure some of you folks on the line are parents as well and can attest to the fact that parents and guardians are also balancing and juggling this new world with work and other responsibilities. So we do need to take them into consideration as well and thinking about how much support they can provide and choose online tools that allow us to communicate with them as well. Accessibility and equity. As you look for online tools, we just want to be cognizant of whether they meet the needs of all learners. So tools like Brightspace that are WCAG compliant means that they can be used with screen readers and other assistive technologies. Security, privacy, and personal information in this digital age, this is certainly an important thing to be keeping an eye on. And if you're asking students to use online tools, it's really important that we make sure their data is protected. So tools like Brightspace that have a license with your district and have been properly vetted can offer that reassurance. You don't have to worry about your learners being vulnerable online. And it's also really important for me to note that D12 never owns student or teacher content. So that's something that can put your mind at ease as well. And last but not least, synchronous versus asynchronous learning. So having synchronous lessons where your students are all doing the same thing at the same time, like traditional classroom, like a video conferencing, that can be a really good tool, but we do want to keep in mind that some households only have one device that the children and even the parents and guardians might all be sharing for work and school. So having an online lesson plan that provides informations and activities for students to be able to complete at various times throughout the day when they have access to that technology, and also including things like physical activity breaks and some household schedules or samples, I guess, is definitely important as well. So today's webinar, we are going to focus mainly on the technology and how to get started, but we are keeping an eye out on the educational resources that are being made available to help teachers, students, and parents as we all navigate this new learning at home environment. So here are some of our favorites from this week. They include districts and education companies that have shared resources, and these are all hyperlinked, and you'll be able to access this on this, through the slide deck that will be posted on that education webinar website. Okay, so I want to start off by making sure we're all on the same page with a couple of names that you may have heard floating around. So firstly, D2L is the company that makes our product Brightspace. And I like to use the analogy of Apple. Apple is the company. One of the products that they make is the iPhone. So sometimes these terms get used interchangeably, but D2L is the company and Brightspace is our product, which is a learning management system. And then you may have also heard the term Brightspace community. And this is our online community for Brightspace, which is really wonderful. It's a great resource where you can find articles and information on various Brightspace tools. And we also have some COVID-19 specific resources to help you. And I've linked that towards the end of the slide deck under our resources slide. Perfect. So we've already ticked a couple things off of our list. And now I want to cover what it might look like for you when you log into Brightspace for the first time. And before we do that, some of you might be wondering, how do I find my district's Brightspace? I know my district license it, but I don't know where to find it. So if, again, this is hyperlinked and will be in the slide deck, but if you go to login-finder.d2l.com, you can type in the name of your district and it will take you to that URL where you can use your district credentials to log in. And before I hop into a live environment to walk you through some things, I just want to cover some terminology that you might hear me use. So we'll work from the top down. The first one is minibar. So that's talking about this set of icons up here. And this is where you can find your courses and different communication and notifications. And that's all housed in your minibar. The next thing that you might see is this bar here, your navigation bar. We like to call that nav bar to keep it short. And this is where you'll be able to find various Brightspace tools. Last term that I want to make sure we're all aware about is widgets. That's basically just a tech term for something that displays information. And that's what these white 4 boxes that you can see are. So you can see I have a My Courses widget, an Announcements widget, an Updates widget, and a Calendar widget. And there's lots of different types of widgets that are available in Brightspace. But if you hear me using that term widgets, that's what I'm referring to there. And again, this session is being recorded, so don't worry too much if it seems like we're going a bit quickly. You'll be able to go back and watch this as many times as you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to flip into a live environment now, and I have some, again, teacher at heart, I have some learning objectives for us today. So by the time we leave here, I want you to be able to find your courses, know how to activate your courses, be able to navigate around your course homepage in Brightspace. We'll talk about being able to customize your course banner and also use Activity Feed as kind of some tips and tricks to get you started with engaging with your students. Okay, so I'm going to head into my instance here. And this is what our login page might look like. And again, depending on your district, you might have different ways that you access Brightspace. So some districts, for example, have what's called single sign-on, and that means maybe there's a tile in your staff portal that says Brightspace, and you click on that and it automatically signs you in. Some districts, you'll click onto a URL and you'll need to log into this page. And again, if you use that login finder that I talked about on the other slide, it will take you to a page that looks like this. And whatever your kind of district credentials for logging on to your school computer or technology, that's likely what this will be. If you're having issues, just contact your Brightspace administrator and they'll be able to help you out. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And one thing that's important to know is when you first log in, you will log onto your district's organization homepage. So I'm not actually in any of my classes yet. I'm on my district level org homepage, and you can see I have my mini bar up here. I have my nav bar. So because I'm not in a course, this is going to be tools that my district has made available to me. So this might be, for instance, a calendar here at my district level that's going to show me various events that are happening across the district. And then you can see I have my widgets down here. So one thing that I'll call out as well is your district might have branded this a bit differently, and that's totally okay. A lot of districts take on their own kind of terminology. So for example, some districts call it the virtual learning environment, MySpace, Student Connect, the Hub, iZone. There's tons of different kind of vernacular, but they all run off of Brightspace. So just don't be thrown for a loop if it doesn't say Brightspace up here. That's totally okay. So step one into getting started is being able to find and activate your courses. Now, because Brightspace is integrated with your district student information system, your classes are already pre-made and they'll already be pre-populated with your students in your class list. So you don't have to worry about creating a class and uploading your students. That should be taken care of for you, with the small caveat of every district does it differently. So for example, if you're an elementary teacher, some districts do it so that all the homeroom educators will have a course, but if you're a Rotary teacher or a prep teacher, you might not come in and see classes, but that's, again, not a problem. Just contact your Brightspace administrator and they can set one up for you. Now, something that also might change between districts is some districts will automatically activate your courses. And when I say activate, what I mean is that when your students log in, they'll be able to see those courses right away. If your courses are not active, your students will still be able to log in, but they won't be able to see your class. So some districts will automatically activate your courses. Others will have you come in and activate them. There's lots of different reasons for that. One reason might be if you think about even September or term 2 startup, some districts like to give educators that control so that they can go in, upload content, upload resources, and then choose to make it available to their students when they're ready. But again, I'm going to show you how you can check to see whether your course is activated and how to activate it if it's not. So there's two ways to do that. The first way is you might have a My Courses widget here, and you can see I have one class. When I put my cursor on this, I get these ellipses here, these 3 dots. Anytime I see that, it means I have more options, or I might be able to edit something. So if I click this, you see it has an option to take me to my course offering information. If I click that, it's going to take me into my class. And this is where I can see all the different information for my course. And if I scroll down, you'll see there's a spot here that says active and it's ticked. So I know that my class is active and my students can see it. If it wasn't ticked, my students can't see it. All I have to do is give it a tick and a save, and then I'm good to go. I'm going to come back up to the top and click this home button to get back to my district's landing page. Now, again, some districts might not have a My Courses widget, and that's totally okay. In that case, you would come up to your Select a Course waffle, and then I can see I have one class here. Now, if you've been teaching for a while or you have multiple classes, this list might be a bit long. You can always pin the courses that you are teaching right now to the top, and that means they'll stay nice and cemented to the top and you won't have to kind of keep searching for them in that list. But I would just click into this and that's going to take me right into my course. Okay, So now I'm into my course, and you can see this looks a bit different than my district's landing page. My mini bar hasn't changed. That will stay the same no matter where you are in Brightspace, but you can see that my nav bar here is a bit different. I have different tools, and I now have these cool kind of icons to help my students see what these different tools might be. So if I need to activate my course still, I'm going to go into course admin, and this is kind of your big toolbox for your course, if you will. Any of the tools and things that you have access to will live here. And you can see I have course offering information. So if I click that, it's going to take me back to that course offering page we saw a moment ago. And same thing, I would scroll down and see active, make sure it's ticked off, and then my students can see it. You can also see that now I have Brightspace Classroom here. This is one way that I know that I'm in a class, I'm in one of my courses, in which course I'm in. Before, when I was on my district landing page, you can see that it was blank here. I didn't have anything, and that's how I know I'm not actually in a class. And now I have this. And no matter where I am in my course, if I want to come back to this home page for my course, I just click this and it will take me back to this landing page. And this is what my students will see when they click into my course as well. Now, this nav bar up here, if we think about course admin being our big toolbox, your nav bar is kind of where you can highlight your most used tools, if you will, the tools that you're going to be using all the time to make it easy for your students to find. So this is something that can be customizable, which is great because the tools that you might need for grade 2 are likely going to be different than the tools that you might need for grade 12. So you can have as little or as many tools on here that you want to help meet the needs of your students. Again, every district is different. So some districts might lock your nav bar so that you can't edit it yourself, and you'll need to contact your Brightspace administrator if you want it changed. Other districts will let you edit your nav bar. And if you're allowed to edit your nav bar, you'll again see these 3 dots, these ellipses, and you'll be able to click into that and edit it. We're not going to go into it today. We do have some resources in our Brightspace tutorials that are linked at the end of the slide deck that can show you how to do that, but just know that you can customize this. Okay, so that's kind of the navigation piece. If I flip back to my slideshow quickly, we covered how to find your courses, how to navigate your courses, and we've talked a little bit about course homepage navigation. And now I want to talk about some tools that you can use to start engaging with your students. So these are kind of just some tips and tricks that you can be using. So the first thing that I want to talk about is my course banner that you see up here at the top. And again, I have these 3 dots, my ellipses, which means that I can edit this. And I have 3 options. I can change the image, I can customize the banner text, or I can remove this banner altogether. So if this is something that you think is kind of in the way and you want more space for your widgets that are down here, then you could totally remove it. I, however, think that this is, it's something that's little but super useful, excuse me, for engaging with your students. So first I want to talk about changing the image. When I click change image, first option that I want to talk about is you are able to upload an image. So if you have some sort of image, maybe you had some projects that you had done and something in your classroom that you wanted to upload, you can totally do that. You can also search for various images here. So you could have it be science-based if you wanted. Maybe you want it to be based on the subject of your course. Maybe you teach English and you want something that's kind of literature focused. One thing that's great about this is it's kind of like Pinterest. You can keep scrolling down, but it will never end. It just keeps going and going, so there's lots of options. And when you find one that you'd like to use, you just click use this image, and it's going to upload that for you. And you can change this as many times as you want. The last thing for the customizing your banner is being able to change the text that you see here. So by default, your course name is what will display here. But you can change this to say whatever you would like. So you can see I have welcome, curly bracket, first name, and curly bracket. And those curly brackets are what we call replace strings. And if you want more information on what kind of replace strings you can use, you can click this when you come and play around. But what this means is with this replace string, it's going to put in the first name of whoever is logged into the course. So when your students log in, it will say welcome, their first name. So it's a really easy way to just kind of personalize this, make them feel welcomed. It's one of those little tips that can really go a long way. And I've heard of educators doing really great things here. You know, putting really kind of clear reminders, announcements, you know, a riddle of the week or a joke, like lots of different things to just kind of personalize the classroom and let your personality shine a little bit. Okay, and last but not least, I want to just do a quick shout out to Activity Feed here. Again, this is an example of if you don't see this widget, just reach out to your Brightspace administrator. They'll be able to help you out and get it onto your course homepage. This is a really great tool. It's got a very social media-like feel. As you create posts, they will display here most recent and then kind of start pushing your older messages down so that the most kind of timely information is at the top and you don't have to worry about going and deleting anything, as it will kind of organize it for you. You can see here that I have a post, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just one moment. A nice little tip that we like to give is trying to have something posted and loaded that's ready for your students when they come in to greet them. So you can see here, I'm welcoming them to week 1 of learning from home, giving information about how they can contact me, and just kind of some guidelines on response time. You know, just the idea of I'm going to try and respond to you as quickly as I can, but you know, it might take a little bit of time, so thank you for your patience. So if I want to create a post like this, I'm going to click this blue button, and you see my first option is message. So if I want to create this message, I click here and I have a little mini HTML editor that comes up. So I can start typing whatever I'd like in here. I can use bullet points. And we also have these really cool hip emojis, if that's something that you are interested in. I personally like them a lot. And I think students get a bit of a kick out of it. You can choose whether you want your posts to have comments or not. So if you want students to be able to ask questions and be able to answer each other's questions, then you can leave that on. You can also really easily tick that off. You also have the option to attach different files. You can attach to information that you have in your course. You can attach to a website, upload from your Google Drive, your OneDrive, and you can even insert YouTube videos that will play in line, which is pretty great. Oh, and I just need to grab my link here. So I'm not sure if anyone saw, but our lovely friends Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod have kind of rebooted Body Break a bit, and they're kind of providing some commentary on some of their old videos. This was a gem that I found the other day. So maybe I want to put this in for my students to kind of guide them on some stress relief tips with a bit of a throwback. So I'm going to put that in. And maybe I want them to tell me in the comments how they're feeling about it or anything that they learned from the video. One thing that's amazing about Activity Feed is I can choose to post this later, which means that I can schedule this. So maybe I don't want this to go out until tomorrow morning. I can schedule this post so that it releases for me then. So really great if you're doing some forward planning and you want to kind of set up some pre-scheduled posts. I'm going to go ahead and post this now. And you can see that I'll explain this in a moment, but it's gone to be the next post here. So it's going to be the most recent thing. And again, you can see here students would be able to comment if they want. And again, it's going to play in line. You don't have to worry about them going to YouTube, getting lost down this rabbit hole of cat videos or whatever it is that they're watching these days. The reason why it came under this post is because I've pinned this post to the top. So what that means is I want this to be the first post my students see. So again, really useful for the first few weeks as your students are adjusting, maybe having some of that top of mind information about contacting and all that kind of stuff. Later, when I don't need this to be pinned anymore, it's going to come and fall back in line based on when it was posted. But I'm going to post that to the top again. Okay, and I know we're quickly running out of time, so just one more thing that I want to show you as we before we head back to the PowerPoint and I share some resources with you. So next is this assignment tab. We have a webinar that's been recorded that goes into more detail about how you can do assignments online, but you can really easily start doing an assignment in Activity Feed. And something that I love is this doesn't have to be a traditional assignment. So especially as your students are getting started and maybe you just want to know how they're doing. You just want to check in and see how they are without them having to post that kind of publicly in Activity Feed. So again, I can come and put the instructions of what I want for them here. I can assign a due date if I want. I have all the same features as if I was making a post with being able to attach and upload from Google Drive and OneDrive and being able to post later. But because I'm making this an assignment, I can also choose my submission type. So I can make this a file submission where I want them to actually type something into a Google Doc or a Word doc and upload it. But I can also make it a text submission, which means students are going to, when they click into this assignment, have a box that they can type right into. And again, I can allow comments or not. So if students want to ask questions about the assignment, they can. I'm going to go ahead and give that a post. And you can see it's now the most recent post under my pinned message. And what I love about this is that as a teacher, I can see that 0 of my, my very small class of 5 have submitted. But as a student, this is just going to be a big blue submit button, and it's going to be an easy way to take them into that assignment. Okay, so I'm just going to head back to the PowerPoint now. And you can see we've put in some kind of instructional slides here. So when you get access to the slide deck, if you want to use these slides instead of watching the recording to find your courses and activate, you can totally do that. So we've covered all of our learning objectives for today. I just have one more thing that I want to share with you, and that is the resources. So we have linked to a bunch of resources in here that are very helpful to our Brightspace community, our Brightspace tutorial channel on YouTube, which has loads and loads and loads and loads of videos of how to do things in Brightspace. We have also linked here to the virtual learning environment training videos. This is Ontario-based. Ontario calls Brightspace the VLE, but aside from that terminology, these are extremely useful videos, so please feel free to give that check that out. We also have lots of webinars up this week. So tomorrow we have an introduction to delivering learning online and getting started with Brightspace. These are repeated sessions from what we did a couple weeks ago, but we have 2 new sessions this week. We have connecting with your students in Brightspace on Wednesday and sharing learning at home with Brightspace Portfolio on Thursday. And you can register for those at the education webinar website that's linked in this slide deck. Now, Brightspace is a very robust tool, so I do recommend just starting with 1 or 2 tools that meet your immediate needs that you have with your students. But if you're hungry for more, we've linked a lot of different resources in here for you. Feel free to check them out. I would like to caution that these are not organized from basic to most kind of advanced. They're organized more so based on the types of activities you might want to do with your students. So communicating, organizing your course materials, documenting student learning, and assessment and feedback. Okay, and if you joined me for my webinar a few weeks ago, you know that I'm a sucker for a completed checklist. So there we go. We have hit everything there. Just a reminder, you'll be able to view this recording in the slide deck on the education webinar website. And I just want to thank you for your patience. I know we went a little bit over time, so thank you for that. And thank you so much for joining us today. I know I mentioned in the beginning that, you know, there's a really big learning curve. It's a stressful time as we all think about how we're going to plan forward and move forward in this new environment of teaching and learning, but I really do appreciate you taking the time to do some PD today and thinking about Brightspace as an option as you move your classroom online. So thanks again so much. Stay safe, be well, and have a wonderful day.